Pounders. Week 2 NFL is in the books. We have Deontay Johnson heading to the IR, going to miss 4 games with a hamstring injury. And we have Saquon Barkley, breaking news, going to miss 2 to 3 weeks with the ankle injury. We're going to get into every single NFL game. I'm going to do a speed run. Waivers, buy low, sell high targets, as well as just a full recap of every single game on the slate. If you guys are enjoying the content, make sure you subscribe if you play fantasy football. Let's get directly into it with this Thursday night game. And the biggest surprise here is obviously going to be DeAndre Swift. He goes absolutely nuclear with Gainwell missing the game. And he goes off for 175, 28 carries. Do we expect this to continue when Gainwell comes back? Tough to say. I do think Gainwell is going to get 30 to 35% of the carries. I don't think Swift just automatically earns 80% plus of the workload, even if he looked like the best running back. Kirk Cousins hitting a ceiling game, going 31 for 44, 4 touchdowns, 364 yards. And then Jalen Hurts just being super efficient with his throws. Madison, there will be better games ahead. I'm a Madison fader this offseason. Better games are ahead for Madison. Again, Eagles, really tough against the run. You saw what they did to Stevenson last week against the Pats. JJ, just doing JJ type things. Jordan Addison started in 2 wide receiver sets over KJ Osborne in the second game. If you can buy low on Jordan Addison, I think that's a smart play for midseason as well as the fantasy football playoffs. TJ Hawkinson being a target monster, probably going to continue to have the second most targets on this team behind Justin Jefferson. And then on the other side of the ball, A.J. Brown's a good buy low target. We saw a touchdown called back with a bad block from Rashad Penny, called back a touchdown for A.J. Brown. So good buy low target. Devonta Smith, he's going to have his games as well. Super efficient game on 5 targets, 131 yards and a touchdown. Goddard, man, all these tight ends that went in this range like Pitts, they've been pretty rough. You still likely have to start him, but we could get into the Goddard versus Hunter Henry talks rather sooner than later in our next start sit video. Hunter Henry absolutely on fire, back-to-back games with touchdowns. This Green Bay Atlanta game, not a lot of throwing from Jordan Love, but was hyper efficient. 3 touchdowns, 151 yards. We see A.J. Dillon get what? He got around like 16 touches. You would have liked to seen him crack the 10-point mark. He ends with 6.3. We'll see if Aaron Jones is back next week. Jordan Love rushes the ball 2 times. Huge. I don't think people really are taking this into account. I haven't seen too many people talk about it. Desmond Ridder rushed the ball 10 times. 10 times. And he did this in college too. This isn't new. We didn't see it last year in his rookie season, but this is really big. If he can continue to rush the ball 7 to 10 times a game, that's huge for his fantasy football upside. Are we going to be starting him over the Jared Goffs? We have to see. Like, this is good too. 32 passes versus 19 or 18 last week. So you do like to see this for his fantasy football outlook. He gets in the end zone on a rushing touchdown. Drake London and Kyle Pitts. It's going to be flip-flopped. It really is. 1 week it's going to be one and not the other. You see some designed plays for Jonnu Smith, which if you're a Kyle Pitts holder, you hate to see. Maybe you end up selling Kyle Pitts if he gets into the end zone twice next week on 5 targets. I think that could be a smart play. On the other side of the ball, Jaden Reed, 2 touchdowns. We're going to have Christian Watson come back to this offense as well. So Jordan Love looks good. He really does. And I think Christian Watson could really open up this offense. Jaden Reed, I have as a favorite over Dobbs for the end of season production, just projection-wise. And then running backs here in Atlanta, Bijan gets 19 carries. Algier gets 16. You're going to continue to see this split. They want to keep Bijan fresh. Bijan also gets 5 targets, and Tyler Algier earns no targets. So definitely going to be a half-point PPR type guy with Algier. And moving on to Buffalo versus Vegas. And this one really didn't have the fireworks that I was hoping for Diggs. Everyone else sort of got there, but Diggs was left a little empty-handed going 7 for 66 this game. Josh Allen, 31 for 37, 274 yards and 3 touchdowns. Beautiful game from Josh. And Jimmy G without Jacoby Myers. And I think this is a huge surprise, is Hunter Renfrow doesn't get an increase in targets because of that. And actually one of our projections was Josh Jacobs would get more targets because of the Jacoby Myers just being out with the concussion. And we see that happen with 6 targets. Couldn't get anything going on the ground. 9 carries for -2 yards. Just really, really disgusting. And then once you're down to Buffalo, it's really tough to continue running the ball. So Josh Jacobs, good buy low target right now, especially. Hunter Renfrow, you're leaving on the waiver wire, and Devontae Adams proved that he can still be that number 1 type guy. Gabe Davis on the other side of the ball, he gets there with the touchdown on 7 targets, 6 catches, 92 yards. And one quick thing on Buffalo and their tight ends. Week 2, we see a very similar usage that we saw week 1. So not yet ramping up. Kincaid actually goes to a 60% snap count to 71% for Knox. Still using 2 wide receiver set or tight end sets in this offense. And you see Shakir siphon a touchdown from this offense. Knox also gets there in the end zone, which is why you were drafting Knox this offseason, I believe, anyways. On to the next. Flying through Cincinnati versus Baltimore, 27-24. A good game just in general. Now in fantasy football land, you were probably very frustrated if you had anyone on the Bengals not named T. Higgins. That's the way it was for us. I have a fair amount of Chase in my portfolio. 8 targets is nice to see. 5 catches, 31 yards. They're just not in sync yet. 8 catches, however, for T. Higgins, 89 yards and 2 touchdowns. And Burrow ends the day with 222 yards, 2 touchdowns thrown. Lamar Jackson having a much more efficient day as a pass thrower. 2 touchdowns, 237 yards, 24 for 33. And he gets 12 rushing attempts. This is going to be huge for Lamar Jackson and his fantasy football value. You want to see these rushing attempts above 8 every game, realistically. Gus Edwards, 10 carries, 62 yards, and a touchdown. Not a bad waiver ad for half point PPR, full point, likely just leaving him on the waivers. Again, he didn't get a single target. Nelson Aguilar. I'd be curious. Let's take a peek at Baltimore real quick and see the snap counts between like Bateman. Beckham got hurt, right? So Bateman we see with 59%. Aguilar runs 25. He's on the field for 25, plays for 33%. This is good, though. I mean, you're seeing a 39% to 59% increase. So when Beckham's off the field, you're seeing Bateman out there maybe in 2 wide receiver sets. We'll see if Beckham's out again next week. But Bateman ends the game with 3 targets, 3 catches, 18 yards, where Nelson Aguilar actually has an impactful game with 5 catches, 63 yards, 1 touchdown. We knew Zay Flowers' targets were going to come down just due to Mark Andrews being active, and Mark Andrews goes back to being the number 1 target with 8 targets in this offense. No huge surprise there. A nice little game from Mark Andrews. First game back from injury, too. Seattle versus Detroit. And this one blew up, and it also goes into overtime. No huge surprise. Hate to say it again, but this game blew up last year. So very much expecting this fireworks type game. Now you see Kenneth Walker get in the end zone twice. Geno Smith, 2 passing touchdowns. Jared Goff, 3 passing touchdowns, 28 for 35. I mean, even 32 for 41. So efficient. Zach Charbonnet not yet being ramped up. Let's peek the snap counts for this game as well. Seahawks running backs seeing 26% for Charbonnet, 61% for Walker. So very much heavy still on Walker. And we'll just continue to keep an eye out if they're going to ramp up the rookie Zach Charbonnet as the season goes on. Or is Zach Charbonnet just that high-prized handcuff that you keep on the bench the entire season? time will tell, but we do see DJ Dallas, his snap count goes down. DK Metcalf, 6 targets. Tyler Lockett, 10 targets, 2 touchdowns. Spike week type guy. We've been saying it all off season. 8 catches, 59 yards. Get me hyped up. Tyler Lockett. Amon-Ra St. Brown, 7 targets, 6 catches, 102 yards. Josh Reynolds, siphoning the touchdowns on this team. 6 targets, 5 catches, 2 titties, 66 yards. Sam Laporta is really intriguing right now in the land of tight ends that are just underproducing. I think if Sam Laporta is still on the waivers, you should be scooping him up if you have Kyle Pitts, because you might just see this guy get better and more involved every single week. 82% snap count share. Very, very good. Back-to-back weeks, you like to see that as well. So very much involved in this offense. I don't think necessarily like when J-Mo comes back, it's going to hurt Sam Laporta. J-Mo's going to spread the field. And honestly, it's probably going to hurt Josh Reynolds more than the number 1 tight end who's not really affected by that. So I like Sam Laporta right now going for end season, mid-season outlook. He's getting a lot of usage as a rookie. Looks very good. Looks very good for Sam Laporta on a team that isn't afraid to throw the ball 35 times. We cover all we want to with this game. David Montgomery gets hurt. They're still ramping up Gibbs. Let's see what that usage looks like. 48%, 45%, where before you saw 79-27. How much of that has to do with the injury? We'll just kind of check back next week. But we didn't see Gibbs get ramped up. Not at least to the extent we were expecting, that's for sure. Chargers versus Titans, and this was a close one. This one went into OT as well. Herbert, 305 yards, 2 touchdowns. And one of what's huge, Tennessee winning this game keeps Tannehill in and under center for longer. All right? If they go 0-2 here, they start 0-3, 0-4, there's a better chance that you see Will Levis come out. And if Will Levis comes out, if you are a owner of Burks, Hopkins, Chiggy even, it most likely would hurt. It'd most likely hurt more than having Tannehill under center. 20 for 24, gets the job done. 246 yards, a touchdown. He has 1 carry for a touchdown, 12 yards. So nice little game there from Tannehill. Everyone that just plugged in Joshua Kelly over Eckler. What are you going to do? What are you going to do? We kind of knew that Tennessee is tough against the run, so the thought wasn't always Kelly's going to get there on the ground. You were hoping maybe he punched one in from short yardage, but this is what was the bigger disappointment, is the targets, right? 1 target, no catch. Titans were the toughest against the run last year, so probably not the best start-sit scenario for Joshua Kelly. In our battle royales, where we had Eckler go out, we started 30% Kyren Williams in front of Kelly, so that was a nice little switcheroo 5 minutes before kickoff. Keenan Allen, nuclear. Mike Williams, 13 targets, nuclear. So we see Eckler being out really translates to the passing game, and it's very condensed between Allen, Williams, and even you can add Palmer in there with 5 targets. Quentin Johnston, let's take a quick peek here at the usage for Quentin Johnston and see if it's trending upward. Actually downward, 27% goes down to 15%. So don't really love to see that if you're holding him on the bench. I'd still hold on to him for 1 more week and see if they continue to, if they go a different direction. Maybe it was game plan specific. And then we could probably safely drop him. Depending on who else you have on your bench, maybe you're already looking to pick someone up. If Puka's out there still somehow. If Kyren Williams is out there, number 1 target, he's going to take a lot of fab this week. I'm probably guessing over 50% fab this week on Kyren, especially depending on your scenario and how bad you need him. Derrick Henry, 25 carries, 80 yards and a titty, and he also gets 4 targets, 3 catches. You love to see Derrick Henry get 3-4 targets a game. Get him the ball in space and let him just train over people. So this is really good for Henry's outlook right here. Flying through. Here we go. Next game, Chicago versus Tampa Bay. Tampa Bay with another can you call it an upset at this point? Like, is Tampa Bay just a good team? Fields, growing pains again. Like, it seems like last year all over again. The way they started last year was disgusting, just terrible. And it looks like we're on that same path. DJ Moore, over 3 catches, we mentioned on the live stream, was an absolute smash play. We also sent it out to the Patreon members. We hit on a 3-piece and a 5-piece. 1 for 1. 1 for 1. DJ Moore, 6 catches, 104 yards. Cole Kmet, 6 targets. The week before, he had 7. So trending in the right direction for sure for tight ends. Keep your eye on Cole Kmet. Chase Claypool, 8 targets. This dude's got an up and down type season already. You'd love to see it. You love to see it. Chase Claypool, he gets there in the end zone. One of the 18th round picks on Underdog this offseason. Rashawn Johnson, huge. You need to pick up Rashawn Johnson if he's on your waiver wire. You have to. Donta Foreman, healthy scratch. Huge. So big. Gets 4 carries. Like, it's not amazing, right? But 32 yards on it, and he's also playing passing downs. He gets 2 catches for 10 yards. Expect them to ramp him up and eventually lean more on this run game. Week 1 wasn't great for the run, and these running backs are doing fine. And Justin Fields clearly needs the help. But Baker, 26 for 34, 1 touchdown, 317 yards. Rachaad White having a nice little game on the ground. Baker even rushing the ball 6 times. Like, he's doing what he has to do. He's giving up his body. And Mike Evans goes Mike Evans. Mike Evans has a Mike Evans game. 6 catches, 171 yards, and a touchdown. Next week, he'll have 0 points. But this week is all that matters right now. Chris Godwin with a steady Chris Godwin stat line. That's back-to-back weeks. I think like 5 catches, 47, 58 yards. Very standard. Cade Otton, 6 targets, 6 catches, 41 yards. Really nice. And Rachaad White, 5 targets, 5 catches involved in the passing game, which you like to see. Trey Palmer with 1 catch for 20 yards. So, man, it looks like Baker is serviceable for these pass catchers and this offense. And it's going to be exciting going forward watching this team. And this is the game that had probably the biggest disappointment for me. The highest scoring point total on the week, KC versus Jacksonville. Let's get into it. We see a 17-9 game. We had Kelsey come back. We had a touchdown from Calvin Ridley, not count because he stepped out. We had 2 touchdowns from Zay Jones, called back because he stepped out. 6 targets, no catches for Zay Jones. 8 targets, 2 catches for Ridley. And Christian Kirk, 14 targets, 110 yards, 11 catches. You have to think some of this has to do with defensive scheme for KC and slot receivers just having a nice little impact against KC. And then between the Zay Jones coming off the field for an injury also helped Christian Kirk as well. Sky Moore gets there on a touchdown near the end of the game. So he saves his day for sure. 3 catches, 70 yards, and a touchdown. Am I rushing to pick him up? Look at the target share. It's such a KC type game where Mahomes is going to pass the ball to 7 or 8 people, and you see, where is he? Kelsey has 9 targets. Like, Kelsey's still the number 1 target. He could have had a 2 touchdown game, dropped 1. Evan Ingram, 8 targets. So if he's somehow out there, I doubt it, but 8 targets. Nice little game, back-to-back for Ingram, pulling in 5+ targets in back-to-back games. The running game, Pacheco, 12 carries for 70 yards. You see McKinnon just really not being part of the scheme just yet. We'll see. Once they get him into like red zone packages, you'll see some spike weeks from McKinnon, but in redraft, going to be nearly impossible to start him and just guess when those spike weeks are coming. Pacheco, 12 carries, and Pacheco had 2 targets, 1 catch, no yards. So really not involved in the passing game there. Moving on to Houston versus Indy, and this was a fun one for a little bit. A-Rich ends up leaving with a concussion. We'll see if he's back next week. But Gardner Minshew, does anyone know? Gardner Minshew went 19 for 23. Can someone put some respect on my boy's name? Is it the mustache? Yeah. Did he shave before the season started? Also, yes. Probably why he lost the starting job. But 19 for 23, 171 yards and a titty. Zach Moss getting there in 18 carries, 88 yards and a touchdown. Exactly why we're not drafting Deion Jackson at the end of the last season. Zach Moss back from that broken arm. 12 targets for Pittman. Just the clear number one. After this, you have 5 targets to Josh Downs. Just, it's Michael Pittman land. And then there's just everyone else. 8 catches, 56 yards. Not amazing. In full point PPR, you're happy with it. In half point, it's nothing too sexy to brag about. Zach Moss, 4 targets, 4 catches. Zach Moss is up there on the waiver wire if he's still lingering in your leagues. And CJ Stroud, back-to-back games where this team is just chucking the ball. And it's so good because these pass catchers were so cheap all offseason. 47 passing attempts, 384 yards, and 2 touchdowns. CJ Stroud going nuclear early. Pierce, 15 carries, 31 yards. We have 3 or 4 offensive linemen for Houston starters that are out right now. How much do you believe in Pierce? Do you want to double down on your take if you're high on him and just say, okay, let me look ahead and see when these O-linemen, the starters, are returning and go from there? And if do you expect, like 15 carries is good. Like you want him to get 15 carries a game and then he gets 2 catches too. So 17 touches is the correct amount. 31 yards, obviously not an efficient day for him. Nico Collins, 9 targets, 7 catches, 146 yards and a touchdown. Kind of cementing himself as the number 1 in this offense. But again, Robert Woods, another 9. Tank Dell, 10 targets. So multiple receivers getting there in the same game. And it's just because this team looks like they want to pass the ball. They're not going to rely on the run. They're going to say, hey, CJ Stroud, go out there and try to win us football games, which is awesome. It's really good for these top guys. Now the guy I want to own is Nico. After that, I mean, Robert Woods, he had 11 targets last week too. Let's see the snap count here in Houston for receivers. See 86% for Robert Woods, 62% for Nico Collins, and 79% for Tank Dell. Very, very interesting. Keep an eye on that one. And the next one, San Fran versus the LA Rams. And Purdy doesn't even have to put one in the end zone this one. Debo gets the job done on the ground. Purdy runs one in. And McCaffrey runs one in. So not really sexy for receiving stats for anybody. But Debo does end up with 6 catches, 63 yards, and 5 carries for 38 yards and a touchdown. So where's Elijah Mitchell? That's who we're missing in this rushing box. You see the rushing box there on the left? Did someone kidnap? Did they leave him in the locker room? Where's my man? And look at this. Such a condensed offense. Really good. Really good outlook. Brandon Ayuk leaves the field with what looked like a shoulder injury, grabbing it with his opposite arm. Not good. When you can't grab your own shoulder on that side, that's not good. Luckily, came back out to play, so keep an eye on Ayuk and his practices this week. Kittle, better days are ahead. This offense is just so dominant. Staffy throwing the ball for 55 times, 307 yards and a touchdown. Kyron Williams getting 14 carries, 52 yards and a touchdown on the ground. No one else is getting carries, guys. Kyron is the number 1 on this offense, and there is no number 2. Ludicrous. Who would have thought? Kyron Williams out of nowhere. And then Puka, 20 targets this game. Are you guys... Because I have a Puka team. I was planning week 3, week 4, I'll sell him right before Cup comes back. Now, probably keeping him. Probably keeping Puka, especially in full point PPR. 15 catches. Now, when Kupp comes back, you can expect this to go to what, 7 or 8? That's very good. Tutu also looks good. This offense it looks better than expected. And I don't see why we don't see this just continue going the correct direction. Van Jeffy just dropping the ball all over the place. The guy's really hurting himself more than anything else. Van Jeffy, 4 targets. Let's see the snap counts, because I wouldn't be surprised to see Van Jeffy start trending downward. And you see 93% to 83%. You see Tutu go up. Exactly. You see Puka go up. And that's about it in this offense. And we'll see if Kupp comes back. And if Kupp does come back, can he stay healthy? Because if he can't, Puka is a league winner. I didn't think I'd ever be saying that. League winner. If Kupp can't stay healthy. Crazy. Absolutely crazy. Out of nowhere, too. The Rams. So, Staffy looks like he's back. Then you have the Giants versus the Cardinals in a close one. Danny Dimes was doing his best impression to try to just tank down multiple scores and then comes back. I think it was the biggest comeback for his team in the history. So he ends up becoming the hero. But if he loses this game to Arizona, first off, if you're an Arizona fan, you're pissed. You're so mad because obviously you want to tank for Caleb. So the fact that the Giants come back, like if I'm an Arizona fan, like I'm probably cheering, to be honest. Let me know. If you guys down in the comments, are you happy if you're a Cardinals fan that they ended up losing? Because I would think you are. I'm hoping the Pats go 0-18. But Dimes ends up being one of the, if not the highest scoring QB on the slate. Gets there in the end zone, had one called back, 2 on a hold. Could have had 2 rushing touchdowns this game, but didn't matter. 59 yards, 1 touchdown on the ground, 2 in the air, 321 yards. Good day for Danny Dimes here. Jalen Hyatt leads the wide receiver corps here with 89 yards on 2 targets. Look for him to get more playing time. Let's take a peek there. New York Giants. Let's see if this is trending up. So it's actually not, but I wouldn't be surprised if next week you see him get more opportunities. So keep an eye on this. Hodgins got in the end zone, right? What's the other one? Yeah, 4 catches, 40 yards, and a touchdown for Hodgins. So he had a nice little day, saved by a titty. Darren Waller, 6 catches, 76 yards. Had a better football game than for fantasy football, but still, this is good scoring for a tight end. And then Dobbs, serviceable, but it's not going to be sexy for any of the pass catchers. Marquise Brown, he has a nice little game with the touchdown. I'm probably looking to sell Marquise Brown. If I own him and I don't in any redraft leagues, I would try to sell high, big time, on Marquise Brown. On the other side of the ball, like James Conner is just Mr. Dependable, Mr. Steady. He's going to have a nice workload all season long, and that's sort of what we were banking on. So this is nice to see 16 points here from James Conner. Nice little game. Lion to the next one here. Dallas versus the Jets. 10-30. Absolutely dominated. Close for a little bit, but then Zach Wilson he can't play from behind. Also, Dallas's defense is just really powerful. Dak connected with CeeDee Lamb 11 times for 143 yards. Just the true number one. After that, you have Tolbert with 4 targets. It's Lamb and then a bunch of guys with names, with hair and eyes. Gallup, you would like to see him step up into the number 2 role? Let's peek. I'm curious real quick on the snap count here for these receivers too. Gallup, 72%, so he's out there. Turpin, 18%. Jalen Tolbert, 68% because Brandon Cooks was out with the injury. I believe it's like an MCL sprain. We'll see if he misses next week too. Garrett Wilson takes one to the house. If you have Garrett Wilson, sell while you can. He's super skilled, right? but he's not going to take a slant to the house every single day. Sell him while you get 14, 15.3 half-point PPR points. That's the way I see it. Dalvin Cook and Breece Hall just weren't in the game plan this week. Tough. You have to hold on likely to Breece Hall. You can't sell him now after 4 carries, 9-yard game. What are you going to get for him? Like a pack of peanuts? Like opened and half empty? Like you can't do that. So just hold. Tony Pollard, I'd be looking to trade for Tony Pollard where you can. And Deuce Vaughn, these guys end up coming in after the game's out of hand. But really efficient day from Dak. It's Lamb and a bunch of other guys. Tony Pollard getting 7 receptions. Dak likes, one note we should say, Dak likes his tight ends in the red zone. Schoonmaker, the rookie, already making his impact felt. This was my biggest worry for Jake Ferguson. So he's going to continue to eat into that role, which is, that's going to be interesting come fantasy football playoffs. What tight end you would want. And moving along here, 2 games left. Washington versus Denver. Sam Howell almost hits the 300-yard milestone. 2 titties, no interceptions. 18 carries of Brian Robinson. Brian Robinson looks great. Great. How many catches? He had 2 catches for 42 yards. And, man, just really good usage. And Antonio Gibson. Is he still being punished for that fumble last week? Or is this just the route they want to go? So you see, actually, he's on the field for 48% of the time. Brian Robinson comes down to 52% from 61%. Some of that is because of coming from behind, just playing from behind mode. But it doesn't translate into like a massive amount of targets. Like Gibson ends up getting 3 receptions on 3 targets, 44 yards. But really a team effort here. Everyone kind of sprinkling in. Dotson doesn't have the best game. Terry McLaurin gets there with the touchdown to make it worth it. And breaking news, Brandon Ayuk's shoulder listed as a did not play today. Not hugely surprised there. Russell Wilson, 18 for 32, 3 touchdowns. What an absolute... If you didn't watch the end of this game, you gotta just YouTube it. It was really impressive. Marvin Mims gets 2 carries. Javonte Williams, you see the usage, like he's getting good usage. He ends up with 14 touches, but it's just not translating yet. Could be a nice little buy low target. You see P. Ryan only getting 1 carry. So the fact that they're giving Javonte most of the workload already is a really good sign for Javonte. Now he doesn't have a huge game, which makes him a good buy low target, in my opinion. Marvin Mims catches a long bomb, 60 yards, gets a touchdown. Brandon Johnson steals 2 touchdowns, which is just hysterical. And Judy, let's see the snap counts here, see if they tell a story with the Judy injury. Yeah, being eased in 68%. Expect this to get to 82, 85% in the next couple weeks, and look for some of these wide receivers to come down. And then Marvin Mims likely taking more from Humphrey and Brandon Johnston. So really interesting to watch that over the next couple weeks as well. Yeah, nice little buy low target for sure in Javonte, especially because he doesn't really get into the end zone. It'd be tougher if he had that extra 6 points, in my opinion. In this game, when Tua can't throw the ball for 400 yards, they get Raheem Mostert to run the ball for 121 and 2 touchdowns with a 43-yard long run. Nice 2 touchdown game as well from Mostert. He gets one catch, not really a pass catching back. A-Chain's first game being activated, and we can keep an eye on the Dolphins as well. Just the usage of A-Chain and if they continue to bump him up. So 10%, we expect this to go up next week and every single week after. Now, Ahmed got banged up. If he doesn't play next week and Jeff Wilson doesn't come back to week 5, we could see a nice little like 25%, 30% snap share for A-Chain. So They spent a high pick on him. You think that they're going to have to game plan him into it, but he's returning back from an injury as well, shoulder injury from preseason. So do we scoop him now off waivers? I think you can still wait another week and go with someone else, but not a bad little stash there in A-Chain if you have extended bench. Jalen Waddle gets hurt towards the end of the game, believe concussion. The word that I heard and read was that he's fine. Tyreek Hill, he gets there, touchdown saves his day, but still nice little 12.5 to 15 point game depending on your scoring. Mac Jones, I mean, he looked pretty good. You got to take into account what he's working with as well. Devontae Parker comes back, instantly becomes the number one. Kendrick Bourne, 9 targets, and Juju look gross. Even the design plays for him, like screens and quick screens, just not really great for fantasy football perspective. And they're getting multiple personnel groups out there, some 2 tight end sets as well, which shouldn't be a huge surprise for New England. But man, our number one drafted tight end this offseason, the guy we have $3,000 invested in, Hunter Henry. 92% of snaps. This man is an every down tight end. And the number one scoring tight end through 2 weeks. Yeah, boy. Hunter Henry, last round. Stevenson, 73%. Zeke. Who's afraid of Zeke? He had like 5 carries for 11 yards or something really disgusting. Zeke being on this team helps Stevenson. It helps him. Bourne, his snap count comes down because Parker was an every down receiver. If you wasted your fab on Bourne, it's kind of deserved. Parker's back, and he's out there every single play. When Tyquan Thornton comes back, he's going to be in the mix as well, I hope. There's still hope for those shares. There's still hope. Demario Douglas, no one else really made an impact. Just Hunter Henry, and Parker had an okay game. Just okay. Gesicki, end of the game. Man, what a heads-up play to pass that back to the lineman, right? Let's take a peek here. Just, the ad. The 15-second ads. They'll get you. I can't. Can't do it. That's it, guys. I appreciate everyone coming out tonight, watching this video. If you improved any kind of knowledge or anything, if I helped you in any way, you enjoy this type of content, let me know down below in the comments. I appreciate everyone coming out. I wish you good luck on 2 games tonight for Monday Night Football.